Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from Metro City, I'll be your host, Dave Trumbore Lee. Joining me as always, it's Sean Paul Ellis Lee. How you doing tonight, sir?
David, I'm doing well. How about yourself, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Hey, I have a question for you. Do you?
Ugh.
This is kind of personal, so
Sure,
listeners, gather around here. A personal question for you, Sean. Do you
let's get into it.
have like a weird, twisty, dragon-shaped mark on your chest? A real
Um,
weird question. A real obscure, but
that's not weird. I do. I didn't think that anybody knew about it. That's why I'm scared to go to the beach,
yeah, I mean, I feel the exact same
show other
way.
people. Do you have
I
one,
do,
Dave?
and I've never told anybody about this before,
That's
except to millions of listeners on this podcast right now.
what?
I know, dude. It's so
What?
weird.
We both have a tattoo of. Does your dragon? Does both sides of your dragon? Is it like a tail in the middle and then two dragon heads on either side of the?
Mine's the opposite. It's a head in the middle and then like two ass ends on. Is that is that normal?
That's exactly what mine
Oh,
is.
wonderful.
That's exactly what mine
Hey,
is.
your name's Lee. My name's Lee. I wonder if we're related somehow. Do you
Oh
think
my
maybe we
god.
were like separated at birth?
We probably
We
were.
probably are twins.
Probably twins.
And scene. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the plot of Double Dragon. Terrible cartoon show.
I feel like in these instances, when we start the show out in this manner,
hmm
we have to just add a disclaimer that is, we have strong opinions about this show.
Yeah,
And
I think
they're
they can
not
pick up.
they're not positive.
I think they can pick it up. It's pretty
They're
clear.
so not positive.
But, at times, I would rather have a show that I really, really love and am excited to talk about, or a show that I really, really detest and am excited to tear down. Because somewhere
Right.
in the middle is just kind of boring. Like, everybody might be like, yeah, it was okay. It's kind of like a lukewarm thing. This show, we said offline that like we have watched some real turds on this program before, but
Oh
this
boy.
one surprisingly lowers that bar. I don't really know how you do that, but it's
Yeah.
been done. It only
I'm
took
not
47
sure.
episodes. Yeah.
So I want to get into the history
Ooh, okay.
of the show, Dave, but I also want to note and kind of come back to the idea of the video game
Yes,
franchise
please.
as we talk about the history. So, if you're not familiar, Double Dragon is an American animated series that's based on the video game franchise of the same very name. It was produced by our friends over at Deke Animation that sit on the fence and allow all these video game consoles and companies to duke it out amongst themselves,
Yep.
and Deke just cashes in. So they are the real winners in the console wars from the 80s and
Yeah,
90s.
it's definitely not the audiences.
Right. Uh, it's also an association with Bobot Entertainment, and I'm not sure if you know this, but Bobot has done a bunch of other animated shows, such as, well, they worked on Sonic the Hedgehog, not the
Right.
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah,
but
which
they
we talked
worked on the
about last
Sonic the
week.
Hedgehog.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. They did work on the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
That explains a lot.
They have worked on quite a number of different animated series, such as Mighty Max, Highlander the animated
Oh
series,
God, put that on the list.
Mask the animated series. These are all things that when we think to ourselves, I wonder what could be worse than Double Dragon. It could possibly be some of these other Bobot productions. So fingers crossed, more garbage on the way.
Dude, Highlander, the animated series, we
Right.
have to. I guarantee Baron is going to want to be part of that.
And I want to say for anybody who's, well, let me finish this and just say that this was also an association with Trade West,
hmm
who was the, I believe, produced and created the Double Dragon video games. I believe they were the development house or studio that was behind.
That sounds right.
I know. I think it was like Techno. It was Trade West and Taito, Taito.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
Trade
know.
West was like the American arm of things. So
Right.
they kind of like imported the games and then put an American spin on it. They published Battletoads, and
Right.
then yeah, Double Dragon was the big series they were known for. So yeah,
So this show ran for 26 half-an-hour episodes that went from 1993 to 94. So one of the things that's very interesting about this game now, I'm not sure if anybody else let's go back to a simpler time where people would go to arcades to play video games, and you would put a quarter on top of the cabinet with your friend and say, "Got next." And you'd mentally prepare to jump into a game and either two-player co-op beat some people up,
Mm-hmm.
or if this was a Mortal Kombat, you're toe-to-toe with your buddy, kicking the console the entire time as you're trying to pull off fantastic combos and moves. Double Dragon was an interesting game because I don't remember any other arcade game starting with an instance of domestic violence.
And one that was continued through, if I'm not mistaken, every single iteration of the game too. It was like a signature opening for this franchise.
It really feels like it was.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar, or you've never played the Double Dragon video game, Double Dragon always opens with, well, at least I believe the arcade version and the original NES version and the several iterations that they had for home consoles. It always opens up with a gang of at least 3 thugs, and they punch a woman. And this is where it gets confusing, is because I want to believe, because of how this poor victim, how she responds, that she's getting punched in the stomach. But because of how blocky the animation is at this time,
Right.
it continually looks like she's getting punched in her lady parts.
Yep. Just
And
a shot to the baby maker, as they say.
It is uncomfortable to
Yeah, for a
watch.
number of reasons.
Not just because she's getting pussy punched, but mainly because this game starts out with putting a quarter in, and then a woman gets hit, and you're
And then you got to put another quarter in. That's what
Then
your
you gotta-
first quarter pays for. Just watching her get punched in her uterus.
that's incentive to continue playing this game, is to prevent domestic violence and abuse. This is crazy.
Yeah, I
This is
mean,
crazy.
honestly, slightly more disturbing than that, probably. Because it's not just like these random thugs come up and just randomly punch this woman and then leave her, or just like laugh, or just like, take a YouTube video and post it. It's that they punch her in her uterus, she doubles over, occasionally revealing her underwear, depending if you're watching the Japanese version or the,
Right.
you know, the blocky pixelated American version. And then they just put her over their shoulder and walk away and walk off screen.
Right.
So she's not only a victim of just random acts of violence, she's also pretty much kidnapped, and then God knows what happens to her after that. So, real dark start for your quarter.
Right. It is. It's a gritty, terrible way to begin an arcade classic, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
crazy to say that this
yeah,
is. This
arcade
is an
classic.
arcade classic.
I'll tell you what though, if that is one way to immediately set up the villain and to make you feel good about your hero. Because you wait, hold on, am I playing those guys? Oh no, I'm beating them up. Okay, we're cool.
Oh,
Everything's
beating 'em
fine.
So we should note that because this is the Double Dragon cartoon, I
Right.
wanna talk specifically about just Double Dragon. So in the arcade version, you are playing as Billy Lee and his twin brother Jimmy.
Right.
Now in American releases, they spiced them up. They made them more American by calling the two brothers Hammer and Spike.
Yeah, they sure did.
They really did.
They really,
And
really did.
some of the promotional photos and work that they have for this game is fantastic.
I cannot wait to see this on the Instagram. I want to make this like it might become my new phone background, because
Yes.
I'm thrilled with this image.
So it's confusing that they're, with the localization that they had between the Japanese version and the American version, that they had to change the names. There is some confusion then, because when you're playing it on I believe it was the original NES version.
Right.
It was not it was a two-player in the sense that you would switch back and forth
Yeah, something
between
like
just
that.
playing, I believe, Billy Lee. So this is I guess this is sort of, we're gonna kind of tease this out, and this will become a little bit more transparent when we discuss the episodes and sort of the plot behind the cartoon.
Right.
So if you are playing a two-player mode, or I believe it was mode A, you would switch back and forth. Remember when games had modes?
Yeah,
you would,
man.
you'd switch back and forth between you just control of Billy, but it wasn't you were not playing two-player co-op or two-player simultaneous. You were just switching back and forth between this one character.
Right.
Now, in this original version that came out for the NES, the brother, Jimmy Lee, served as the antagonist.
What?
What? I know. So the guy who punches Marion, the woman's name is Marion. The gentleman who punches Marion.
I love that you called him the gentleman.
The gentleman.
Well, we don't want to judge.
Well, it's the contrast of language that I was looking for. So when this superb individual,
upstanding citizen,
with this Rhodes Scholar punches Marion, his name is Willie, and he is also a character that does come across in the cartoon under the name or the title Wild Willie.
Boy, does he.
Which we'll get into that in a little bit. So if you are to play the game and you are to knock out Wild Willie, then your brother emerges as the actual true final boss battle.
Right.
And so I think the thing to note about Jimmy Lee versus Billy Lee is that Jimmy is typically wearing a blue. In the arcade game, it looked like just blue denim pants and then like a cut off ripped sleeve t-shirt.
Right.
And his brother was identical, but just in red clothing.
Yeah. Which carries over fairly well to the cartoon as well.
That's been a pretty standard thing for these series.
Switch.
I want to also note this was very interesting to me, and I want to come back and I want to talk about it a little bit during the show because it makes more sense. So there are several weapons that are available to players in this game, and
like what?
I don't know. There's knives. There are
some bats, maybe.
There's like a bat. Yeah. There's like a bull whip.
For some reason, you got those laying around everywhere. Yeah.
Clearly, there was a box that you could pick up and you could throw at somebody, which just looked like a regular corrugated cardboard box. So you kind of wonder how what that would do if it would just distract them. Or... Paper cuts.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it worked in Metal Gear Solid, but it was more for the sneak arounds. But
right. There were other things that you could get, such as an oil can that you could pick above your head and throw at people, and so you tend
dynamite.
To think
that I love that. If I remember correctly,
sticks
of dynamite that you could just throw.
So dynamite was the other one. So I want to note that there are a lot of weapons. The one weapon that I want to note that was not present in the arcade game, nor the original NES version of it, there were never any swords.
Interesting. Well, it's a good thing that they don't bring them up in the series at all, right?
Oh my god! Wait. Do they?
Oh, maybe they do.
Oh, God.
Look, there are so many swords in this show that to the point that I don't even know which sword is supposed to do what thing anymore.
And the thing, so to go back to what your comment was about I can't wait for Highlander, the animated series, the whole premise behind Highlander is cutting off other people's heads. Yeah. That's not going to translate well into a kid's cartoon.
I cannot wait to see how they dance around that.
I know. In Double Dragon... Billy Lee and Jimmy Lee, as well as also the big boss that is in this, they all have swords.
Yeah.
They all have swords. Guess what? Nobody ever sustains a single injury.
Occasionally they get bruised. But
from
getting hit with a laser cannon, you get a bruise. Right? Look, I believe that these guys are built like brick shit houses. Like they do not. You cannot take these guys out. They are the most roided up cartoons I think we've probably covered on this show, and that's saying something.
Could you tell me a little bit more, Dave, about Jimmy and Billy Lee?
Do you want to know more about Billy and Jimmy Lee?
Please dive into
in the context of this particular show. So like we mentioned,
I want to also note, if you made up right now an alternate history or synopsis of the interaction between these two brothers, it would probably be more enjoyable than what you are about to tell us.
Yeah, Sean and I came up with a couple like alternate universe versions that we'd rather watch. But unfortunately we watched this one, and we watched 3 episodes of it, which the first 2 kind of serve as almost like an origin story for the brothers.
Right.
And that origin story more or less goes like this. I'm going to give you the straight dope because it's real bad. Basically, we open up 18 years, I apologize, in the past in a fictional city of Metro City. So we got Metro City. And it turns out that some muscle-bound gentleman is running away from some unknown, unseen threat, and he has a baby in his arms. We soon learn that this baby is one of two twins who are separated at birth. One is Billy Lee, one is Jimmy Lee. We find out in the early episodes that they take two very different paths, which we will kind of tease for the moment. We're not going to quite get there yet. So personality-wise, they differ quite a bit. Billy is very peace-loving and very focused on helping others and protecting people and using his powers for good and not getting into unnecessary fights, living by quote-unquote code of the dragon.
He's very centered,
He's
very
very centered,
centered
very
individual.
zen, to the point that he will just randomly do Tai Chi at the end of episodes in order to provide a PSA.
And I can't wait to jump into these
These
PSAs.
PSAs, again, like last week, these PSAs are probably my favorite part of the show. And then you've got Jimmy, who's pretty much the polar opposite of Billy, both visually and in personality. Visually, I don't know. I felt really weird just watching it because it just seemed something seemed off. Well, about the whole thing. But to see these two on screen together, it just looks so strange. Their waists are about like 2 inches around, but their shoulders are about 50 feet across, and they're just built like the weirdest looking Venice Beach muscle heads that you've ever seen. But basically, Billy is like a dark-haired guy that wears a blue gi, or his martial arts getup, and then Jimmy is a blonde guy that wears a red one, and that's pretty much it. They look identical, other than that, right down to
Well,
their double dragon mark. That's pretty much it.
Dave,
I mean, is there
Dave,
anything else? Anything else you
well,
want to
no,
talk
I was
about
gonna
these
say
two
I'm
knuckleheads?
well, I'm unsure that I didn't know if you were aware, but if you are a fraternal twin, you have the characteristic of being a fraternal twin is having those odd body proportions.
Oh, is it and dragon marks,
Yes,
glowing, floating dragon marks.
glowing, floating chest tattoo dragon marks.
I feel like Metro City is in like a nuclear waste dump site of like
Might
some
as
just
well.
like it's out in like New Mexico somewhere where they just dump nuclear waste, and these kids are just like, because everybody in this town seems to know about the Dragon Masters. Did you
Right.
did
We
you
should
pick
say
up on
that.
that? Yeah. So
Yes. There is no this. I want to say this. This faction, this warring faction that is attacking the city. Dragon, these dragon soldiers. That's headed by these shadow soldiers. I'm
yeah, we've
sorry,
got
that are
Shadow
headed.
Warriors on one side, and we've got the Dragon Masters kind of on the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Shadow Warriors, stand for everything that is bad, evil, and terrible. And their whole desire is to cause chaos and problems for everybody.
Right.
They, for being called, for having the word shadow in their name, they do a very poor job of staying in the
Yeah.
shadows. They
They're
are
not stealthy
consistently in the limelight,
to the point that they're driving
nonstop.
like giant laser cannon robot spiders through the streets and just blowing everything up.
To the point where they can be noticed on the street in the middle of the day by a child who runs into the Dragon Dojo and is like, "Hey, there are shadow troops outside."
So you should probably
You
like
better-
handle that.
you
You
should
should probably
you
just get on
do
your
something.
sweet motorcycle and go handle that. That he keeps in the dojo. I love that. Just like I love the fact that, and we'll get into this when we get into the episode discussion, but basically that Billy is brought up in this dojo by an old fella named only as the oldest dragon. That's it. That's all you know him as, oldest dragon. And it's basically that guy alone with Billy, nobody else in this dojo. It's not an open functioning dojo. It's basically just like a place that these guys live. So it's their house, but it's a
Right.
dojo. But no one else is allowed inside. And Billy's allowed to keep his motorcycle in there. That's about
Yeah.
it. It's not until that same kid, like at the end of or in the middle of this episode, it's just like, hey, maybe you should like open a dojo and train people. Billy's like, oh, that's a great idea. There's a dojo right here. Maybe I should do that. This is such a
Oh,
dumb show. It's such a dumb show. It's like the writing is terrible. The characters are really really bad. There's just so many. It's dumb to the point that I don't even know how to talk about it.
it's challenging.
It is very challenging. It's
Did you
intellectually
know?
challenging because it's like numbing.
I want to ask: did you play any of the Double Dragon games growing up? Like, did you play them in the arcade game? Do you have any? Do you have a history with them?
And we were talking offline too. I played a lot of kind of the side scroll and beat 'em up brawlers, but I can't really remember I can't differentiate them. They all kind of blend together to me. And I remember playing different ones. I think I had like Double Dragon on Game Boy, so it was all
Yeah.
did that kind of like a weird gray-green color.
It was
Um,
that whole era of River City Ransom and Streets of
Streets of Rage,
Rage, Double
exactly. All the stuff where you just
Dragon,
had like a couple brawlers who punched and kicked and jumped, and they could pick up whatever you knocked out of the guy's hands.
Final Fight.
Yeah, I think I might have played that.
Yeah.
I can't even remember because they all just blurred together. And like I said to you before, I played a lot of the. I remember more of like the Battletoads and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game where you could have like four players play at the same time.
Right.
Those were the kind of side-scrolling brawlers that I played. I played the ones that were they were based on the video or the cartoons before they were video games, so it was kind of the other way around. And honestly, in the arcades and stuff, I played either some of the classic games from like the 70s, or I played a lot of the shooters when they came up, like Area 51 and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
That's
God,
just
I
what I
used to
played.
play those
Those
all
were
the
fun.
time.
Those were fun. So I was
I
never like I don't have a whole lot of like investment in Double Dragon other than just
Gotcha.
I thought I used to enjoy the cartoon, but apparently I did not.
I used to hang out at this one friend in elementary school and middle school. His name was Ryan. I forget what his last. I won't say his last name.
Shout
It's
out
okay.
to Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan. We used to go over to his house and we would watch the movie Little Monsters with Fred Savage and
Nice.
Howie Mandel, and we would then play Double Dragon 2 Revenge
Ooh.
a
Was it
lot.
Marion's Revenge?
Well, oddly enough, Billy and Jimmy Lee are avenging her death
Ooh, it got dark.
in the second one. So this game does not open with Marion getting punched in the lady parts.
I guess that's good
This
and bad.
this game opens up with them really just trying to kill everybody, which is I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I should note that this game starts with if you were thinking to yourself, we need to up the stakes in Double Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marion got punched in the first one.
I thought you were gonna say in the vagina. You're just like in the first one.
She got punched in, in the.
We've already used all the euphemisms
We've
for
used
baby makers.
every
So.
possible euphemism.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
she gets
Punched in the oven. Right.
she gets punched and kidnapped. How do you raise the stakes for the second one, Dave?
Murder her.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah, exactly.
The game opens with them just shooting her and killing her. And Jimmy
Let's
and
see
Billy
what
Lee
Double
are like,
Dragon do now. Like just egging them on.
yeah, that's what it
Oh,
was.
that's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I will say this. One thing about the cartoon that I appreciated for literally the first episode, because after the first episode, these guys are gone. They took a couple of the characters from the games and actually put them in the cartoon.
Right.
But
So
it's
we
literally a couple of characters other than the main guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Wild Willie,
Right.
who is the boss of who you believe is the first boss
Right.
of the original Double Dragon. And then they also bring in probably my favorite character.
Just for his name alone,
From-
or yeah,
No, because he was always like a mini boss
yeah.
in this game.
Wasn't he
And
like a mid-level boss or a sub boss or whatever?
he
Yeah.
would bust through a wall,
Yeah.
or he would come out of a garage. I don't know what it was, but he was also
I love
he-
picturing this guy just like working on his car in the garage and then just like came out to beat the shit out of you.
just cracking knuckles. He's like, I got shit to do.
Right? You're interrupting my zen.
This character is Adobo, and
Is it a Dobo or is it a Bobo?
I think it's maybe it's a Bobo.
I have a Bobo.
I always remember there being a debate when we would play this in the arcade about whether it was Adobo or a Bobo.
I could see that.
But I want to say, I mean, reading through the name, I remember seeing a Bobo,
Mhm.
but I don't know why I think it was Adobo. I think.
Just sticking to your guns.
Well, no, I think a friend of mine had confused it with like adobo,
Right.
like the chili sauce. that
Right. Or like
And so-
Adobe, like the southwestern Native American tribe,
Yes.
or the,
right.
the software, either
So
one.
we should- a group of people or a chili sauce.
Potato. Potatoes
Yeah.
are great with adobo sauce. Anyway,
So thank you for correcting me, but a bobo
Yeah, Bobo.
he was a giant hulking, always continually shirtless, ripped gentleman who
Yeah,
would
with like a giant head, if I remember correctly, from
right.
the like his sprite was just like his head was as big as his body. It was a real weird
It
looking
was
thing.
like fighting just a head.
Yeah, like a bulldog on stilts. It was a really
Right.
weird looking thing.
So a Bobo and Wild Willie have paired up, and they are just having the time of their life in these first couple episodes until the very beginning of episode 2.
Yes, they get literally maybe 15 minutes of screen time total,
Right.
and then they are dealt with in a very strange way, which we'll probably talk about later on.
Right.
But I don't know why they chose to do that, just like eliminate those two together. I don't know if there was a story change at the end of the first episode where they were like, these guys aren't working, or we want to go in this direction, or whatever. It didn't matter, because what they were doing to begin with was garbage, and what they ended up with was garbage too, so really wasn't a big deal. But
I mean,
before we even
it's
get into the episodes and stuff, though, buddy, this has to be. I don't know where this falls on your radar, but this theme song
this theme song is
and
nuts.
this intro.
I will say I don't super I don't like this show a lot at the moment.
Okay.
But I will say that I have I have enjoyed this theme song, and over the last maybe 24 hours
Mhm.
that I've been traveling and sleep deprived and a little bit
Yeah.
delirious, I have been randomly just saying and quoting lines from the intro. So there has to be something to it that
It's.
gripped me or made me feel a specific
I
way.
mean, it's catchy.
It is
They
catchy.
say dragon 1,000 times, so that's always fun.
They really do.
I'll tell you, I was excited for this one because I thought I liked it as a kid, and I have a high watermark of where I kind of give up on a show when we start watching these.
Right.
This one was about. Let me see how long it takes to say this. About 4 seconds in, because the
Is it
first
the
two
second
lines of
line?
this theme
Is it
song,
the
yeah, it's
second
that
line?
second line, dude. I
Second line.
never face palm. Like I don't like to be like hyperbolic, but I literally face palmed to this because I was like, oh man, I'm in for a rough hour and a half.
So, well, I want to
Yeah.
before we transition over to this, I want to say that so some of these elements in this Double Dragon cartoon were not part of the video game initially, aside from a couple of these characters and the concepts that they have. So what happened was they ended up taking, I don't know if they thought that this show was a success so that it warranted creating a video game,
I don't know. They got two seasons out of it. Yeah.
well, Double Dragon 5
Yeah.
is called the Shadow Falls,
Right.
and it is more of a they took so the cartoon was taking the concept or the idea from the original IP and transferring it into a cartoon form.
Right.
And then at some point they decided, let's take this newly evolved IP that's in this cartoon and put it back into the video game.
Right.
And so that's what Double Dragon 5, the Shadow Falls, is about.
So it was a video game based on a cartoon based on a video game.
Right. And a
Got
lot
it.
of the same characters that we're talking about in the show are in a majority of the same bad guys and people who are in here are in that game. I never played this. I think it was for the Super Nintendo. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember
It's
that
for
at
the
all.
Super Nintendo.
Okay.
Now I am insanely curious to download an emulator and give this a shot.
Yeah, honestly, and to the show's credit, they did come up with a number of crazy, middle level villains and goons they came up with that they looked like they were born for like selling toys, but
Yeah.
they were actually like they weren't the most creative thing in the world, but they were at least interesting. And we can talk about them later on too. But
Sure.
yeah,
So to go back and let's do this theme
do
song.
it.
Do you wanna read this, Dave, or you want
no,
me
I
to
really
read it?
don't. I can't
Okay.
get through it.
So we should note that the theme song, the animation that goes behind it is not original
No.
for the theme song. This is a smash cut of a lot of random crap that ends up happening later in some of these
Sometimes
episodes.
straight dialogue pulled from an episode.
Absolutely. So here is the Double Dragon theme song. To be a dragon, you've got to be strong, humble, never bragging.
That's where I'm out.
That's where you're out. Always fight for right, battling wrong with the power of the dragon. Live the code of the dragon. Fight for right, the might of the dragon. With the mark of the dragon. Live the code of the dragon. And then in the background, you hear Oldest Dragon
Yeah.
say, never intentionally harm another. These are the tenets of being a double dragon.
Which we need to discuss
Which
further
are
a little later on
fantastic.
because they just change randomly throughout the show whenever they want.
They pick and choose what
Yeah,
works
it
for
just
them.
adds shit to it, whatever.
Yeah. So oldest dragon says, never intentionally harm another. It's a good life lesson.
Hmm.
Do not battle if you can avoid it. Not a bad life lesson again.
Hmm.
Jimmy and Billy Lee are dragon masters now. And then it concludes with Dragon Master was born with a mark of the double dragon.
Yeah, so you can see why I checked out early on.
Oh, I had to go back several times as I was watching the YouTube videos for this. And as it continued to play, I didn't realize that they were saying humble, never bragging.
What do you think they were saying?
I don't know.
Oh, you didn't make
really,
this one up?
I'm
You
really
didn't
not
just add
sure.
your own words
No,
in
I
and stuff?
didn't. I didn't. I wish I had.
Mm.
I had. They say dragon so many times.
Right.
I think I just inserted dragon. in there.
Dragon, dragon, dragon.
Dragon,
Just
dragon,
say
dragon.
dragon 100 times.
Live the dragon code of the dragon. Like it. So I went back, and when I realized that it was to be a dragon, you've got to be strong, humble, never bragging.
Yeah.
I did the same thing that you did. I think I audibly groaned.
Yeah. I can
And I was-
believe it. It's
and I was-
worthy of that.
It is. And I was in a room, I want to say with one of the friends of the show,
Yeah.
with Tony Lazzaroni.
Mhm.
And
Hey, Tony.
I think I just went, ugh. I had to explain it to him, and he was
Oh, I'm
like,
sure as soon as you said, like, Double Dragon,
my
he was just
God.
like, I got you. I know exactly what this is.
check out.
Yep.
Oh, yikes. So that is the theme song.
Yeah,
Is
check that out.
it-
We might post that just because it is catchy, and it does
It's
give you an
catchy.
idea of, like, what the show's... Maybe not what it's about a lot, but at least the visual look of the show, which is just very bold primary colors, a lot of
On a-
roids, and a lot of
Yes.
flashy swords. Yeah.
On a scale between stepping on broken glass
Mhm.
and
So Annie Lennox
so,
to...
so Annie Lennox walking on broken glass, between Annie Lennox and the Bots Master.
Oh, God.
Let me rephrase this.
I don't know. I don't know how the scale goes.
No. This is a great scale.
Yeah.
I love this scale. On a scale between Vertigo and the Bots Master theme song, this came in about dizzying,
Yeah, dizzying heights, I'd say.
dizzying kind of sense.
It's bad. I can't even...
I,
no,
I looked for a Dramamine patch as soon as I was done with it.
I can't do this show. I just can't. Like we
God.
said, we've watched some terrible stuff, but this one, there's not really anything good about it. The creativity behind the villains, which I guess we'll talk about in a second here, because we're going to get into the characters. I want to make sure we talk about Marion's iteration in this particular series, since
Which
we
is
did.
an interesting interpretation.
Yeah, it was. I don't think they did quite enough with it, at least in the episodes that we saw. And from what I
Right.
understand, in the second season, she really takes a back seat. But it's heads and above what they did to her in the video game, so we got that. Yeah, do you want to just
Well-
talk about Marion right now?
Well, yeah, I think so. I want to say we've talked about Billy and Jimmy Lee
Yeah.
and Oldest Dragon quite extensively.
Yeah, and
So
before
the
we give you
other-
any more of what happens to them, we'll handle that in the episode discussion.
Right. So Marion Martin. So Marion, yes, is the character that we've talked about that is the impetus for all of the arcade for this arcade classic.
Right.
She is the poor woman who takes the blow to the stomach.
Right.
The interesting iteration or the interesting interpretation that they have for the Double Dragon cartoon is that she's a police officer, which I'm going to say I really enjoyed. I loved that idea that they made her a strong female police officer.
Yeah, she's one of the Metro City's newest patrol persons.
Right.
She
that was
introduced herself as a patrol
the
person.
patrol person.
Yeah. And
So,
then
I
later
mean,
the villains
good-
are just like, this cop lady. So they just paint themselves sexist.
I mean, good for her for not subscribing to that gender binary
Right.
bullshit and really, really being honest and happy about what she does. And you could tell that she enjoys the job.
Yeah,
She's
great introduction.
very enthusiastic about it.
And she literally like just jumps into the fray and just starts kicking Shadow Warrior ass for a couple seconds at least. So pretty good intro.
And being the newest patrol person,
Right.
she's able to immediately begin deputizing people.
Yes, which is great. She's
is awesome.
first day on the job, deputizing people, kind of running rogue. They give her a laser cannon in the second or third episode. So I mean,
Right.
she's really got upward mobility here. It's good stuff.
It's fun to see a strong woman who loves her job
Mm-hmm.
and is really gung ho about
Laser cannons.
fighting evil,
Yes.
and laser
Yes,
cannons,
also
and
that.
just fighting people with laser
Yeah.
cannons.
Yeah.
So
She's
that's rad.
not. She's not real bright, which is a common theme for the characters in this show. Most people in Metro City, A, they all know about what Dragon Masters are, so that's just like common knowledge. B, they don't know. They can't place you if you put a mask on. Even if you wear the exact same clothes that you were wearing a second before, if you put a mask on, they have no idea who you are.
It's if you put a mask on and you take off your undershirt.
Yes. Oh, okay. I missed that
They,
transformation.
they
I missed that
can't. They
transformation.
can't tell a single.
They're just
It
mesmerized
is.
by your chest hair coming
It's
through.
blown away.
It's a dumb show.
God.
But
So
that's merit.
that is
Yeah.
that's really the four. You get some additional characters in the show, but those are really at the core. It is Billy and Jimmy Lee. Oldest Dragon makes some appearances now and then.
Yeah, it's like a little hologram,
Right, to
Tupac
kind of push
hologram
them.
dragon. Yeah.
He pushes them along, and he gives them the idea and the courage that they need to stand up and do what's right.
Right.
So
And
that's
he
good.
does give them the code of the dragon, which maybe now is a good time to walk through that code again. Did you write it
Yeah,
down?
let's jump into this.
Yeah, I wrote the code down. At least the original tenets, which Sean pretty much he said it in the opening.
So go. Can you please give me the tenets, Dave?
I've got the code. 1. Do not battle if you can avoid it.
Okay.
Okay. These are almost like what are the Asimov's robot codes, where it's like you can. The first one is always
Right.
like do no harm to humans, and then you can kind of get away with some stuff in the second one as long as it doesn't violate the first one, things like that. So
Right.
the first one, do not battle if you can avoid it. 2, if you must fight, don't injure. Okay. 3, never intentionally harm another. That's it. That's the code of the dragon. It has nothing to do with like protect the innocent, strive for justice, keep your heart at peace, anything like that. And then since there's
Practice
such
your chi to
practice your
find
chi,
zen.
right?
None of that shit.
Go find your twin brother occasionally.
Or recruit another person who is a chi master named Tsunami.
Tsunami. I love that or just like have a whole bunch of kids around that you can just use as like fodder for like the villains to just kind of like beat up whenever they want.
We should mention this, that along with everybody who's on this, the kids that they have that train at this dojo are named junior dragons,
Right.
and these junior dragons are used as a vehicle to further explain the PSAs that happen at the end of the episodes.
Yes. And
So
they are
they
also
serve
used to
some
finance the dojo because they are charging their parents hundreds of dollars a month to train at the Dragon Master's
Millions of
dojo.
dollars.
I'm
That's
reading between the
garbage.
lines there on that. I didn't really see like a pay structure, but I'm just assuming that's what it is. Because these guys have like some pretty kick-ass vehicles that they drive around and like custom
yeah.
hot rods and rockets and laser cannons, so they got to be paying for it somehow.
God,
These poor kids.
it's amazing.
Hold on, I have a new code for you.
The Debt of the Dragon.
The Debt of the Dragon. I would watch that. I'd
Debt
play
of
that
the
video
Dragon.
game. You're just like just working all day, just trying to pay off those loans.
And in the evening, you're worried. You have to continue to mash the A button, which makes you worry about final payments and final notices that you get
It's
on
just
bills.
your hairline just starts receding and your wrinkles start deepening in your forehead. And you moonlight as just like a practice dummy for up and coming boxers.
No,
I would watch this show. It was more entertaining than this cartoon.
I would play this
I'd
game.
play the game and watch the show. I'm pretty much doing both right now. It's just called my life, but the Debt of the Dragon. Hey, buddy, I got another tenet for you that they added.
What is this? What is this time?
They add a new one like every 5 seconds whenever some situation comes up. They're just like, oh no, that was totally in the code. I can do this.
Whenever it's
Yeah,
convenient.
whenever it's convenient. Here's another one. This is from Billy. Make your
Right.
opponent defeat himself. That's the code of the dragon. I literally said out loud to the screen, wait, no it's not, because I just wrote down the previous 3. It's like, fuck you, Billy, you just made shit up. Now that the oldest dragon is like in the wind, in dust in the wind, he's just lying to these kids, making shit up.
Oh gosh.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I love the idea of creating these tenets, and whenever it's self-serving, just claiming that it's a new tenet or that it's a new code of the
It's
dragon.
basically like Moses coming down off the mountain and being like, hey, I got these commandments. And somebody's like, how many do you have? And he's like,
I would do stuff like
Got
go
a
to a
few.
nice right.
We'll just add them as we go.
Let's just make this shit
Yeah,
up.
I'll just chisel it on the rock as we go.
I would go to like a very nice restaurant. I would go to a very nice dinner with myself and invite all of my friends, and get there, hang out, have a great time, eat for hours, drink, really
Yeah,
relax, and when the bill
enjoy
comes, be like,
yourself.
can't pay for it, go to the
Yep, go
Dragon,
to the dragon.
and
Do not pay for material objects. Sorry.
just bounce.
Sorry, I'm a dragon. Peace out. You guys know me. I'm Dragon Master.
Yeah, Dragon Master. I'm Sean Lee.
Sean Lee, the Dragon Master.
Can't pay for this
Yeah,
crap.
can't do it.
Sorry. I got
Against
Dragon
the
Master stuff to go do.
Look, and I will. Okay, so we're kind of obviously joking, but everybody in Metro City knows about Dragon Masters. There is a point very early on in the first episode after Marion and Billy meet up, and Marion's just kind of like, okay, there's this guy like in a gi running around, and he's got a sword, and he does flips and kicks, and he beats up all these Shadow Warriors, and then he rides off in his motorcycle, whatever. That's cool. And then when she meets up with him again at the dojo, she just goes, "Oh, he's a dragon master. That explains everything." Without him saying anything to her, and that's a verbatim line. She's like, "That
Yep.
explains everything." And that is unfortunately like a repeating thing in this show. They don't actually have any understanding or any exposition or conversation that leads to understanding. They just automatically know a thing. Like, I don't know, when Jimmy Lee shows up at Billy Lee's doorstep, and as soon as he opens the door, he's just like, "Oh, I never knew I had a twin brother. Why don't you tell me your life story?" Like, that's not
We
how you
should
answer a door.
It's not. I want to start answering my door like that. When people, like when a FedEx guy
Right?
comes, open the door and just be like, "Oh my God, my brother!" And he's like, "You got to just sign for this package.
She's
Get the hell out of
just
my
like, "No,
face."
come in, tell me your life story."
No, come on in. We're Dragon Masters now.
That explains everything. It's great because Jimmy, he literally asks him, he's like, "Is there anything I can do?" "Yeah, tell me your life story." Oh, man.
That's the best.
It's,
He's so earnest
he
in his
is.
desire to gain this knowledge
I,
that it's genuinely a beautiful thing to see somebody so naive but so powerful
yes.
in that moment, and so accepting of somebody else. We
Yes.
should note that they're both Billy and Jimmy Lee are Caucasian. Billy has jet black hair.
Right.
Jimmy has a
Bleach
blonde
blonde.
hair shelf
Right. At the pompadour.
in front of like a blonde pompadour, and they really, aside from their body dysmorphia,
Jaws,
like they
and then
did
their
not,
dragon mark.
their dragon mark. If you, they are wearing t-shirts.
Mhm.
They are wearing their gi, and then they have like an undershirt
Mhm.
under the gi, and it's masking their tattoos, so they can't see the tattoos on each other initially. So Billy is just astonished looking at his a mirror reflection of himself,
Right.
and he just makes the assumption. He seems like the kind of guy that would get an email from like a Nigerian prince
Oh,
and be
no,
like,
poor
"Hold
Billy.
on, I gotta get a credit card."
That's where all his
And then,
dojo money went. That's why he's starring in Death
"Debt
of the Dragon.
the Dragon."
Yeah. Actually, that's a great. Okay, so Billy's kind of naivete and his earnest nature and his ability to kind of just trust everybody that comes along, that plays in perfectly to this first episode, which I think now's a great time to talk about.
Let's jump into it.
Because you might be thinking to yourself, okay, separated at birth, how exactly did these guys find each other? And to be honest, the way that the show did it, execution was terrible, but the idea was interesting because they played off of something from the video game. I think
Right.
they just rushed it. They did it too fast, and there was no kind of build up to it. It was kind of weak, in my opinion. So the execution was terrible.
The challenge with a lot of these cartoons is
Mhm.
that they don't have the luxury of subtlety. They don't have the
No.
luxury of being coy
Right.
in these moments. They need to rush this along. They need to get you to where you're going so that you can begin shooting people with sword beams and flipping off of buildings and crap.
Yeah, and putting on weird fang masks and
Oh boy.
confusing
Well,
the populace.
we got to talk about those when we get to
No, we
episode
will.
2, because I'm so fucking confused.
Well, there's
Still
not
confused.
much. There's not much else that happens in episode 1 besides just kind of meeting everybody.
Right.
And there's actually there are fewer characters than you think on screen, because
Right.
perhaps one character is masquerading as another character.
Yes.
Perhaps. Have
So
we
we
teased
should-
this long enough? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can get into
Yeah,
this
get it,
now
bro.
because it's the big reveal
Right.
at the beginning of episode 2, is that I'm saying this with air quotes, the Shadow Master that you believe is in fact the Shadow Master.
Well,
turns
hold on.
out-
I want to pause real quick because I did the same thing.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
there are actually two different shadow people. There's Shadow Boss and Shadow Master.
Oh,
All right.
I
So
I missed that.
yeah, well, I did too, and I had to go back and watch again. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I know. I was like, oh, I think this is wrong, but I don't want to do it. So first you meet Shadow Boss, and that's Wild Willie, the kind of crazy gunslinger who has a laugh that is eerily ironic or eerily similar to Scratch from Adventures of Sonic,
Yes.
which I found very disturbing. So you've got this gunslinger and you've got a Bobo. These guys are working for a new shadow boss who can do quote unquote like weird and powerful things,
Right.
which I don't even want to get into that. So you've got Shadow Boss, and that's where we get into it. And Billy kind of fights these two idiots, and then he ends up fighting Shadow Boss, and there is where Sean was going to our big
Yeah.
reveal.
Thank you.
Hmm.
At this point, Shadow Boss reveals, or the beginning of episode 2, correct?
It was actually the end of episode 1.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, they
So at
don't
the
kind of get back together until 2. Yeah.
okay, so at the end of episode 1, it's revealed that Shadow Boss is in fact Jimmy.
What?
Yeah, I know. Mind blown.
Yeah, just collect yourself there, kids. This
Ooh,
actually happened. Which, again, the idea is cool. The execution was really bad because they rush
right.
it. It's like 15, 18 minutes in, and it's revealed because when these two guys, when the twins are together, if one of them gets hurt, the other one shares the damage. It's kind of like
Right.
shared battle damage,
Right.
which does not sound evolutionarily beneficial, but
Or possible.
or possible. But it's a way that they kind of that's how they come to identify each other when Jimmy is in his shadow boss disguise, and he kind of has like a cowl that he wears over his head that grants him like these shadow powers.
Which was challenging because
Yeah.
there was a moment where I did not pick up on the Shadow Boss versus Shadow Master. And when Jimmy is wearing that cowl, he looks almost identical minus the weird facial hair
Yeah.
to Shadow Master.
Now the major difference for me was that voice.
Yeah.
Because Shadow Master, okay, so Shadow Master is basically the equal to Oldest Dragon. So you've got Oldest Dragon who raised Billy, and you've got Shadow Master who raised Jimmy as the Shadow Boss.
Right.
So that's kind of where these parallels are. So
Good
Shadow Master
good
is obviously the.
mentors. Good solid mentors.
Oh yeah, good. Good. I mean, hey, if you want to go really good or really bad, you can't really pick better than Oldest Dragon or Shadow Master. But the guy who does Shadow Master, and I don't have his name on the top of my head, but we are so used to villains. These major villains have these kind of like deep, gravelly, loud, impressive, very commanding
Booming.
voices. This guy went complete opposite direction. Very subtle, almost like a whisper. He's got a little bit of gravel into it, but he just whispers the entire time. And that was the only thing that kind of gave you an idea that, like, oh, he does have more shadow. He has a shadowness to him, and that was
Yes.
reflected kind of in his voice, which sometimes it worked better than others. But I just thought it was an interesting choice. Yeah.
There never seemed like there was any
No,
urgency.
he was always very calm.
Very.
Even when he
when
was
stuff
yelling, it
blowing
was like a
up, yeah.
whispered yell. He was just kind of like, "You have disappointed
David.
me greatly, and you will be punished for everything." And you're just like, "Wait, what? Are you? Is he
Huh?
okay? Is he okay? Like, are we good?" But
Oh
it was
boy.
great. I thought it was a great choice. It was pretty fun.
It was interesting, yeah.
You know. But yeah. So end of the first episode, you find out Jimmy is Shadow Boss, and Jimmy's still kind of a asshole. He says to Billy, "Hold on, there's a great." And by great, I mean absolutely terrible quote. It starts off okay, and then it ends just terribly. So Billy is the light, Jimmy is the shadow. They're fighting each other, and as they're fighting, with a sword of light and a sword of shadow, whatever. Billy says, "Where there is light, shadows cannot fall." Do you remember what shadow? I have Shadow Master, but I think it's Shadow Boss. Do you remember what he says?
No, no.
He says, "Where there is shadow." Okay, sounds good so far.
Okay.
Dragons cannot go. I just was like, wait, what?
Wait, say that again?
Okay, where there is light, shadows cannot fall. Makes
Okay.
sense. Where there is shadow, dragons cannot go. It
What?
makes absolutely no sense, and it sucked all the tension and like drama out of that scene with those two fighting together. Because it was like you had like 75% of a decent metaphor there, and you just shit all over the last quarter of it.
God.
So that just gives you an idea of the dialogue we deal with. But okay, so that's episode 1. Anything else interesting from episode 1 for you?
Nope.
So 2 is where it gets a little more interesting because we meet the real big bad Shadow Master,
Right.
and we get to see the first ever appearance of the title character, the Double Dragons.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was
The
interesting how they got to that point. I mean, it was very like telegraphed. He knew it was coming,
right.
but it was an interesting way to kind of get there. And Jimmy,
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, that guy flipped in a second.
Yeah.
A
Well, he had
lifetime of loyalty
he
to his father, he flipped in a fucking second.
well, I think he had every right
Yeah.
to be angry and to make that change.
Oh yeah.
It was warranted.
It was warranted, but again, like you said earlier, like they rushed everything so fast to get these guys to be the Double Dragons that it was just like
Right.
18 years you've raised me, you've trained me, you've clothed and fed and taught me all these terrible things, and then I know you're a terrible person, and then you betray me, so I'm gonna go fight with the good guys now.
Right. Well, let me to provide some context.
Sure.
So, Shadow Master is revealed.
Mm-hmm.
We get this soft, whispery, gravelly voice, and in this first initial meeting, Abobo and Wild Willie have disappointed him.
Right.
So he teaches them a lesson
Yeah, you could say
by
that.
putting them permanently into his shadow mural. And
Yeah.
if you are saying, Sean, I don't know what the fuck shadow mural is, don't worry about it. Nobody else does either because it's really only mentioned in that like short 5 seconds that I'm talking about it right now.
Yeah.
I've actually spent more time explaining what a shadow mural is in this exact moment than what they spend talking about it in the show.
Now I'll tell you what,
Suffice
though,
to say,
for the second or two that's on screen, it's the most interesting thing in the show because
It is.
there are like
Super
dozens of characters in there.
right. And so it's a giant mural.
Yeah.
There's 2 pieces of it, and what happens is Shadow Master's giant sword or the weapon that he uses. I'm not really 100%
It's
sure.
like a
what the
weird.
actual-
It's like a staff
like a
with a
sickle?
sword on either end of it. So it's kind of like a
Like a
scythe, but it's
scythe?
like a double-bladed scythe. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he shoots a beam of energy at Abobo and Wild Willie, and kind of Han Solo freezes them in carbonite
Exactly.
into this mural, and that's it. They're done.
You never see him again.
And he looks at
Jimmy.
Jimmy like, you have really disappointed me as well, but I'm gonna forgive you because I'm a kind, nice, terrible human being,
Yeah.
and I want you to go do this thing. But don't worry, I'm gonna bring in some new help for you
Right.
that won't disappoint. And so
Oh man.
we get into this cavalcade of crappy characters, and I don't know if we want to go through them really quickly.
Yeah, we can go through them quick. So I'll do one. You do the next one. How's that sound?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's
So we
go.
got Sickle, who's this kind of like weirdly pompous talking kind of guy. He's got kind of like a mohawk head, but he basically just has 2 big blades on his arms that he uses to just slice through stuff.
Right. We have Ice Pick, who is. It looks like he's made of ice. They make a ton of water and ice puns.
To the point that I think one of them was meant for Ice Pick, but Trigger Happy actually used it,
Yeah.
and it didn't make any sense to me because he was like, "Have an ice day," and I'm like, "Hold on, why did you say that? You're not
Yeah.
Ice Pick." Did you catch that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the interactions between these guys. These group of characters I want to mention are more inept
Yes.
than Abobo and Wild Willie.
Surprisingly, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So Ice Pick he's like their computer and technology expert. He builds a lot of their equipment and machines.
Yeah. Trigger Happy, as you might know, or as you might guess, he's basically just like, he looks like, what was it, Small Soldiers? Do you remember that movie?
Sure, yeah.
That live action movie? He looks like the commander character from that. So he just looks
Right.
kind of like a G.I. Joe. He's got these big guns on his hands, and that's about it.
There's Jawbreaker, who is a monstrous pink-skinned mutant who kind of resembles the Jaws character from the James Bond franchise.
Yeah, and then there's
Well,
Countdown, which I only caught his name. I don't think we ever actually saw him do anything.
I don't. He was tertiary,
Yeah,
At best.
which is saying something amongst these goons.
right? So you get these new characters. So to go back and kind of finish this thought. So the context is that Jimmy watches these 2 goons of his be frozen into this mural. He then is sent out to retrieve his brother and kidnap and capture him,
Right.
which he does.
Yeah, also burns the dojo down.
It burns and destroys the entire dojo.
Yeah.
So Jimmy brings his brother Billy back to the Shadow Master and is told to go put Jimmy is told to go put Billy down in the dungeon.
He
And
he
as
also, before we get to that, so Shadow Master also asks him where the sword is, the
right,
dragon sword. Which
the
at this
dragon
point
sword,
Jimmy's like, oh, it's buried under that rubble. Nobody will find it for, I quote, a million years.
million
Yeah,
years.
it's in the middle of the city that you just ugh.
So we should note that that was the one thing that Shadow Master had
Right,
requested, and Jimmy has let him down
again.
again for the second time. So,
Yep.
what does Shadow Master do? But he looks at this new gang of goons that we have. He looks at Trigger Happy and I maybe Sickle
Yeah, sure. Doesn't matter.
or Jawbreaker. Doesn't matter. He looks at this new cast of crappy characters and says, "Go down there and finish, or go down there and finish them." And and these goons
Yeah.
look at him like, "Wait, just finish Billy?" And Shadow Master is very specific in saying, "No, finish them both."
You're like,
And you're like,
what?
"Oh
Yeah.
crap, it's about to happen."
It's about to happen.
So yeah, so these guys attack Jimmy, and in this moment, Billy saves his life.
Mm-hmm.
Billy saves his life. They escape together, and that's when they form this brotherhood. That's when they realize that they were meant to fight along one side of each
Yeah,
other.
Billy or Jimmy literally has just like an instant realization, like, oh, I've been betrayed and he tried to kill me, so now I'm gonna fight for right, the code of the dragon, whatever. Yeah, it's like an
Right.
instant switch like that, which is fine again because we're trying to push them along to become the double dragons, which they eventually do, thanks to them both finding the sword in the rubble. Yes, the sword in the stone.
Yep.
They touch it. The Tupac Dragon Master comes back and is like, "Oh, now you guys are totally you're double dragons now. Isn't that cool?" And this is when they make their transformation into the double dragon, which is the lamest fucking transformation in any cartoon ever. All that happens is there's some like light power that kind of builds around them, and they lose their undershirt and they gain a mask that is the opposite color of their gi. So if they've
Now
got a red gi, they have a blue mask.
this is the
Yep.
question that I wanted to
Shoot.
ask, Dave. Do you think that those dragon masks would
Stink.
be do you Dave
Yeah.
think that those dragon masks could be misconstrued as culturally insensitive and hurtful to, I don't know, American or Japanese, or an American Japanese like person looking at these things?
I would say
Like they
most definitely.
okay.
I don't know how else to, like, yeah, easily.
What about, do you think that it's insensitive towards dragons?
Towards dragon, yeah, dragons would definitely be pissed off.
Dragons are definitely pissed
Yeah.
off. Oh,
It's
they
and my
are.
favorite part about the masks, not that they're super cumbersome,
They're like luchador
but
masks.
they're huge. They're not like the form
Like
fitted to your
huge
head. They're like
luchador
these
masks.
giant paper mache or like vinyl coated things that don't really seem to get any other powers. They can kind of flip around. Oh, they do. I don't think we're gonna have time to get to the third episode, but they can grant dragon warrior powers to other people, which was
Yes.
kind of
And
cool.
they do.
Yeah, and they do that with their kind of tertiary characters that just show up. They're like, "You're a dragon warrior now. Live by the code of the dragon." And they're usually just like, "Wait, what? Too
Yeah,
late. You're a
that's
dragon
it.
warrior now." Yeah,
Yep.
but they don't
I
do
want to I
anything
want
other
to
than
say
mask your true identity from people you've known for quite a time, quite
right.
some time.
I want to say in this moment
Yeah,
personally, if I found out that I had magical secret powers and it resulted in me having to wear a gross, probably sweaty, dirty
just
mask,
so gross.
I would be
Yeah,
pissed. I would be so
yeah.
pissed.
I mean, these
Oh,
are the
what
prices
a,
you have to pay, but my God,
I don't want to pay those
no, I don't
prices
either.
because
These low, low
that's how
prices.
you get into the den of the
Yeah,
dragon.
exactly. You got to pay for all the
Oh.
upkeep on these dragon masks. Sweat and blood all over these things. You got to have them
It's
sterilized.
not cotton. It's not cotton. You can't clean it yourself
No,
and then just air dry
you
it.
can't.
No, you got to take it in for special dry
And those
cleaning.
dragon
That's
fangs are pure dragon ivory. That shit ain't cheap.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started
You
about the
chip
cleaning
that,
on
and you
that.
got to go to like ancient China time travel to get that shit back.
You got ancient China time travel.
Ancient China time travel. It's a shop. It's a costume shop down the street from where I live.
It's actually a major at San
San
Francisco
Francisco
City College.
bringing it back. We're getting a little short on time, unfortunately. I want to
All
get
right,
to these PSAs. We will
let's
make
get to
time
these
for these
PSAs.
PSAs. Do you
These
have
are the best.
anything from episode 3 that you want to mention, you care
Nah, I don't give
about?
a shit.
Man, I really,
Other
yeah.
than the fact that Shadow Master has a VR chi scanning
Yeah, I was
machine.
gonna say he had a virtual boy just hooked up in his
Yeah,
lair.
yeah. He had a Nintendo Virtual Boy that could scan and read the inner chi of a person,
Right.
and it was fucking
It was
ridiculous.
pretty great. And there were just enough headsets for villains and heroes alike to all join in a virtual hologram battle at the end.
Yeah, God,
I
so
man, I'm
crazy.
so pissed that we didn't have time, but Shadow Master has some great lines. I will give you this one that he says to the Chi Master before he hooks her up to the virtual boy and gives her brain cancer. He says, "I shall leave you with peace, the peace of mind of a vegetable," and that's it.
Yes.
That's it. He's so good.
Oh, hold on.
Oh,
I got
you got
another
one? Okay,
quote.
okay.
I got another quote. This is not from Dragon
Oh,
Master. This is from the character that's called
or Shadow Master. Did
Tsuname.
I say Dragon Master? Sorry.
No, you said Shadow
Okay.
Master. I apologize. So this is a quote from Tsuname when I believe it's Billy meets him. Billy meets him and in a park, and they're doing Tai
Right.
Chi, and he asks him why he does Tai Chi because Tai Chi is like working on your chi is supposed to bring you zen and internal
Right.
satisfaction and calm you
Inner
down.
peace and all that. Yeah.
And Tsunami says it's to quote curb my violent impulses.
And this guy is built like, okay, so we said that the brothers are huge. This guy is enormous. He looks like Toru from Jackie Chan Adventures,
Yeah, it's
which
just
this
it
show
looks
was like a
he's like
weird
Goro
mashup
with just
of he looks like Goro with less arms.
Goro with less
Right.
arms.
No, I said this show it looks like Jackie Chan Adventures meets Cops, which are
Yeah.
both terrible and it did not make a better show.
Oh,
Okay.
so
PSA time.
PSAs,
Speaking
PSAs.
of Tai Chi in the park, this is a great PSA.
Okay,
So
perfect
you want to
segue.
set this one up?
So there is Billy, and he is doing Tai Chi in the
Right.
park, and one of these junior dragons is watching him and comments and says, makes the assertion
Yeah.
that why are you doing that? You look weird when you do
Do you
that.
remember what he says he looks like? He
No. Oh,
goes,
looks like a slow mo flamingo.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
What a burn. What a sick burn, Michael.
God, Michael is he? God, he gets slow mo flamingo. He's gonna be snapping with your mom jokes later
He's
on. I
gonna
mean,
be.
this kid destined for
He's
greatness.
gonna be. Do you remember
So
Billy's response though, as he's still doing the Tai Chi?
no. What did he
Oh my
say?
God, this was the best part. I mean, slow mo flamingo is pretty good, but Billy's still doing his weird slow mo flamingo Tai Chi moves, and he just goes, "The real challenge is to figure out why someone looks different." And then he just kind of shouts, "By the power of the dragon!" And it just like, wait, what? Is that
Yep.
part of the code to figure out why someone looks different? And then they just cut. They roll credits.
So we should say the fun part about these PSAs is that if you blink, you missed it.
Yeah,
They are insanely
6
short.
seconds long. That's it.
They are insanely short. They provide little to no context. It's a setup
Right.
and then a line
And if you
afterwards.
get it, great. And if
Blackout.
not, too fucking bad. Come back next week.
Fucking blackout. It's
Now,
amazing.
this last one is great because it's going to dovetail right into what we're covering for the next couple weeks on the show.
Yes, can't wait.
So, again, like Sean said, no context. This one starts off with Michael
they're
just
jogging. They're
they're just
jogging.
jogging through a park, but it's you don't know if they're running from something, if they're running to something. What's going on? It's
I don't
Michael
even
just
care.
running with Billy and Jimmy this time.
Right.
So
So, do you remember what Michael says to Jimmy and Billy?
he's like, "Hey man, some of the kids at school keep bugging me to try drugs. What should I say?"
Yeah. And they say, and I forget which brother says it, but he he says, "You need to stay clean and mean,
That was Jimmy. He's like, "Tell them they're fools. These days, you got to stay clean and
clean
mean."
and mean. don't don't do
Yeah,
drugs."
this coming from the
Blackout.
roided up monster.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, kids. Hand me that syringe.
Yeah. So to recap, it just immediately goes, "Hey, I've been bugged to try drugs. No, man, you got to stay lean and mean. Don't do drugs.
Don't do
Blackout."
drugs.
Oh boy.
That's it, kids. That's Double Dragons, I guess. I don't even know at this point. I really don't even know what we watched because it's It's like the game in name only, pretty much. I feel like this day and age, if they wanted to bring Double Dragon back and made it like super dark and gritty in the alleyways of like a New York City, like a Daredevil almost kind of thing, like there's
Right.
something there that you could do. But for this kids cartoon, it's not a street brawler. It's just like a laser blasty, light sword swinging, shadow mastery kind of fun half hour. That's it. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not good. Do you recommend it?
Oh no, I absolutely do not recommend
No,
this.
not even in like an ironic fashion.
Mm, I mean, watch the theme song. I feel like that's become a recurring recommendation is to just watch the theme song of
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But for this show, you get all you need from that theme song, and that so you can
And
just bounce out.
possibly more than you need from that theme song.
Ugh.
Once they get to bragging. Uh,
Humble, never bragging.
always dragon. It's
Um,
always dragon. So yeah,
so
that's a 0 out of 2 recommendations, I think, which is unfortunate. I always feel bad, but not quite as much this time, so that's good.
yeah,
That's good, I
well, I
think.
mean, it happens.
Yeah, it
But
happens.
we get to over the next 2 weeks, we get to discuss something that is very near and dear to our heart that we just teased at. So I'm excited about
Are
that.
you teasing again? Because we usually don't give that away till the very, very end.
I know I'm teasing again,
Ooh,
so we
teasing
should
again? Well, let's
let's
tease the
teasing
listeners some more.
again. So,
Buddy, what do you have coming up the next couple of weeks before we talk about those shows?
oh boy, I know I'm getting good at these teases.
Yeah, you are.
I am going to be participating in the Washington D.C. 48-hour film festival.
Woo!
Uh, it's going to be May 1st through the 3rd. I'll have more information because they screen our film projects afterwards once
Okay.
we're done. But I will be working with some friends of the show. I know we've had Jamal Newman on, and we've also had Tony Lazzaroni,
Mhm.
and so three of us with a group of other friends of ours will be jumping back into the foray and putting together another short film project that we're excited to do.
Awesome, man. That sounds great.
Other than that, I have no shows coming up in the foreseeable future, so this is perfect. I'm taking
Good. It'll give you
taking a
time to
little
recoup.
taking a little
You've been,
break.
yeah, you've been busy
Yeah.
for a long time now.
We were just up in Boston last night for the Women in Comedy Film Festival, which was a blast, and we were really happy that we had a chance to go up there and participate and hang out with everybody. People were so cool, and it was great. And we met other people whose submissions were also 48-hour film projects
Right.
that got accepted, and it's always fun to go up and see what other people are doing and the work, and it's great. It's insane. It's inspiring. So happy I got to go to Boston for 24
Yeah,
hours.
hell yeah. Just turn around, come right back.
Oh God, I'm exhausted.
My 48-hour film idea would be to film someone watching the Double Dragon cartoon series on loop for 24 straight hours and then edit it into a time lapse of them just slowly going insane and stabbing their own eyes out.
It would turn into like a Dave Cronenberg like style movie,
Yeah.
like a Naked Lunch.
Yeah. There would just be like worms growing out of people's stomachs and talking to them.
It would just be something insane, like The Brood or whatever. I guess Naked Lunch would probably be more apt to The Fly. It's just people just changing into these roided out double dragon masters.
Just
Ugh.
getting like a dragon scar like,
God,
blazing
I
across
hate
their chest. Hey, we
Um,
should get matching tattoos, bud.
Oh my God, would please let us do this? The worst idea ever.
Guys, if you want to donate to Saturday Morning Cartoons, we will use the proceeds to go get matching Double Dragon tattoos.
Please do not make
Because
this
I
happen.
don't even care. Why not?
You can find also my online shenanigans on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Paul Ellis. Dave, what are you up to these days?
I'm up to the same old shit over at Collider.com. Just recapping some of the shows that are actually enjoyable and fun to watch, like Gotham, which is still on, The Flash, which is coming to a close, along with Arrow, and
Yep.
also Game of Thrones, which just started up a couple weeks ago. So I cover all those over at Collider.com. Feel free to stop on by. Let me know that you either heard me on this show or that you checked out my writing. Either way, whatever. Just drop a line and say hi. You can also follow me on Twitter at DrClawMD. If you're interested in finding out more about Saturday morning cartoons, or you just want to tell us that you love our sweet new logo from Rory Lucy, thanks again, Rory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Head on over to SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also follow us on Twitter at MorningTunes. Check out Sean's handiwork and that sweet, sweet American promo art for Double Dragon. SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. Feel free to send us an email to give us your suggestions. SaturdayMorningCartoons at gmail.com. Did I just say that twice in a row? I feel like I just
That's okay.
I just blacked out.
We're at that moment where we're so dizzied by this show that it's inevitable that it'll happen. We might repeat stuff
Repeat stuff. Repeat stuff.
Repeat stuff.
Repeats itself. Repeats
Oh my
itself.
gosh.
Yeah, that's us. Hey, guess what? You can listen to us on Stitcher and iTunes each and every week. Subscribe over there. If you want to come back and listen to us next week, we're actually going to have a two-parter because I think we have so much to go through. We're not going to be able to do it in one episode, so we're going to split it up. It's going to be a two-parter, and Sean is super excited about this. We've been talking about it for a while. Sean, what do we have coming up for episodes 48, 49?
48 and 49 are going to both be dedicated to public service announcements regarding drugs and alcohol.
Oh my God.
We've talked about this, and we've hinted at this as early as episode 20. We cannot get enough of these crazy drugs and alcohol PSAs, and we are going to go back, and I believe our friend of the show, Laura Barber, is going to join us. And we are going to talk about all these things that we've watched in terms of The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the Double Dragon PSAs, the PSAs that we have from Cops.
Brave Star.
Brave Star.
It's still my favorite. I don't know if we're going to find a better one than that. So yeah, we're going to mix it up with, episodes that are just PSAs themselves, and then little snippets at the end of episodes, like with Double Dragon, and then maybe even some, animated commercials and stuff. Whatever we can find, we're going to try to cram it into a two-parter for you guys, because it should be a hell of a lot of fun. So
Best part is if we don't get it in 2 episodes, that's cool. We'll just make episode 51, 50 through 60 just about
totally fine with that. Totally fine with that. Sean used to get mad at me when I told you guys to just do the drugs, but I feel like you should before these next PSAs.
Oh, no, don't.
Don't do
it. Have a responsible drink.
I mean, I guess. Have a 2-part drink.
I'm going to be responsibly drinking during this next episode.
I really want to. I got to stock up on something for these next episodes because it's only going to get better. Guys, come back and listen to us get real drunk over what will sound like the course of 2 weeks. But we'll actually just see the 2-part episode. Just been drinking straight for 2 weeks.
We're just on a bender.
That would be nice. I haven't had a bender in a good long time. Hey, I've got an outro for you tonight.
Let's do it.
Okay. If you were a double dragon, what would your dragon code name be? Something dragon. Which I didn't realize, I thought about this before the show, because I thought they had, names. They didn't have names. It was just Billy the Dragon Master and Jimmy the Dragon Master, which is such a lame fucking thing.
Right.
But if you had the power to wear a sweaty, hot vinyl mask, and you can call yourself something dragon.
Pizza Dragon.
God damn it. Every time it's... I knew it was coming, too. I didn't even want to ask you because I was setting myself up. Pizza Dragon.
I'm really hungry right now, and I'm also super predictable.
No, it's fine. It's great. Because Pizza Dragon sounds great.
Well, I want to ask you then, if you could add any additional core tenet... Topping. No, if you could add any additional core tenet to being a double dragon... for the code of the dragon, what would be the code of the dragon that you, Dave, would add?
It would probably be the only way to get out of wearing this stupid fucking mask is to kill your idiot brother and then just stand back and watch what happens because one of them is going to die.
They would both great. Die.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe if we're lucky. Marion will just kill them both.
Oh my god.
Guys, don't watch this show. Listen to our show. Don't watch that show. That's my PSA for the end of this episode.
And I blinked and I missed it. So
brought to you by Pizza Dragon.
Pizza Dragon.
All right, guys.
My gosh.
That's all we got for tonight. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Saturday Morning Cartoons.